Britain rules the waves at the Tokyo Olympics with double gold in the sailing.
Can they carry it all the way to the finish? And right on the line, Great Britain win the medal race. And with it, the gold medal in Tokyo 2020.
Norway's Karsten
Gold for Norway! 45.94! Both of them smashed the old world record. No wonder he rips his shirt.
And beaming Biles. After struggles with her mental health, superstar American gymnast Simone Biles takes bronze on the beam. Well, we'll be live in Tokyo with the very latest as Team GB climb the medal table, also in the programme. Criticism from Labour, but praise from the travel industry as the government abandons plans for an amber watch list for trips abroad. Boris Johnson meets the opposition leader of Belarus after one of the country's athletes at the Olympics sought sanctuary in a foreign embassy. And the container ship that jammed the Suez Canal for 6 days and caused huge delays to global trade finally arrives in Felixstowe.
And coming up on the BBC News Channel, heartbreak for British sprinter Adam Jamili after injury forces him to pull out of the 200-metre heats.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to BBC News. Team GB are celebrating more medals today at the Tokyo Olympics. There was double gold for Britain's sailors. Dylan Fletcher and Stuart Bithell claimed victory in the men's 49er class, and Giles Scott retained his title in the men's fin class. Meanwhile, Jason Kenny gets silver in the men's team sprint and equals the total medal haul of Sir Bradley Wiggins to become the joint most decorated British Olympian. And there was also silver for his wife Laura Kenny in the women's team pursuit. That's her 5th Olympic medal. The American gymnast Simone Biles, who pulled out of 3 finals to focus on her mental health, has been back in action, winning bronze in the beam final. Well, more on all those stories coming up. But first, here's Daniela Relf on Britain's sailing triumphs today.
An unbelievable finish.
It was a display of dominance on the water from Team GB, maintaining their strong record of success in Olympic sailing.
So they're coming in with breeze now.
The men's 49er was a race that had all the drama of a sprint finish.
We're going to repeat ourselves, but this is a crucial moment.
Dylan Fletcher and Stuart Bithell needed to hang on to their lead and stay away from Germany and New Zealand in the final chase.
Is the speed with them? Can they carry it all the way to the finish? And right on the line, Great Britain win the medal race. And with it, the gold medal in Tokyo 2020.
And that euphoria was shared by the families watching at home 6,000 miles away.
It wasn't in gold medal position, but in the end, it all turned out well. Fantastic.
The most exciting race I've ever watched him sail, and obviously with the right outcome as well. Absolutely delighted. We can't believe it, can we? We can't believe it. All these years, since he was 12, and he's hit the top slots. And we're absolutely delighted.
Giles Scott there in the yellow bib, the world number 8, just needs to finish in the top half.
He knew what he had to do to defend his title in the fin class, and Giles Scott left it to the end to push through.
Giles Scott, right at the last moment, crosses the line. The points are on his side, and Giles Scott at the line holds on to the gold medal. But for Giles Scott,
a watery celebration as he confirmed his place as one of Britain's greatest ever sailors. There was another family celebrating and a quick chance to say their own congratulations.
Go and celebrate, you're amazing. We love you.
This is a first for us. She never ever watches his racing, and so for her to put herself through that is awesome. So we can only just say thank you, Giles, for delivering in the end. Although, as he said to us, at least he didn't have a heart attack.
He dipped back and went and managed to regain, so that's really good. I've watched quite a few starts on the racecourse, but not with him in the fleet.
It's a strong performance from John Gimson and Anna Burnett.
In competitive sailing, the scores are collected over a number of rounds. And this sail was enough to get Anna Burnett and John Gimson a silver in the NACRA 17 class.
And what a finish it was. Dan, we called
It puts Team GB at the top of the medal table in sailing, with the prospect of more tomorrow. Daniela Ralph, BBC News.
Well, cyclist Jason Kenny's success makes him Britain's most decorated Olympian of all time, and there's been more success for Team GB today. There was silver for Pat McCormack in boxing and bronze for Jack Law in diving. On the track, meanwhile, there was an extraordinary win for Norway's Karsten Warholm, who smashed his own world record in the men's 400 metres hurdles. Andy Swiss was watching.
Chasing a place in history. Jason Kenny alongside Jack Carlin and Ryan Owens going for team sprint glory. Britain had won the event at the past 3 games, but this time in the final it wasn't to be.
Jason Kenny straining every sinew in pursuit of that medal, but it's gold for the Netherlands.
Still silver though, and for Kenny that meant a place in the record books. His 8th Olympic medal, 6 of them gold, making him Britain's most decorated Olympian.
It gets harder every time, you know, you do your first Olympics and I think you catch up in the momentum, and then to repeat it and then having to do it again and again, it does get harder, to be fair.
There'd earlier been another medal for the Kennys as Jason's wife Laura took silver in the team pursuit alongside Katie Archibald, Near Evans and Josie Knight. Her 5th Olympic medal as the family tally continues to grow. There was another British medal in the boxing, although not the colour Pat McCormack was hoping for. The 26-year-old from Sunderland is the current Commonwealth champion, but after being edged out in the welterweight final by Cuba's Roniel Iglesias, he's had to settle for Olympic silver. In the diving, meanwhile, there was success for Jack Law. After winning bronze in the springboard, he revealed he'd considered retiring early this year because of mental health issues. This means so much, he said.
Simone Biles is back.
In the gymnastics, meanwhile, the return of a sporting superstar. A week after withdrawing from competition to focus on her mental health, Simone Biles was back for the final of the beam and back to near her best. That was enough to put her into the lead, and while she later slipped down to bronze, her Olympics has ended with an emotional comeback and another medal. In the athletics, though, there was agony for another British hope. Adam Jamili pulling up in his 200 metres heat. He later revealed he'd injured himself in the warm-up and his pain was all too clear.
I just felt my hamstring go and I'm in so much pain. And I just said to the video, just strap it up and let me go out there at least try. Because you have to try. And yeah.
But elsewhere, perhaps the performance of these games, as in the 400 metres hurdles final, Karsten Warholm ripped up the record books.
Warholm is going to go away to take the win. It's gold for Norway. 45.94.
The Norwegian smashing his own world record by the best part of a second, leaving commentators reaching for the superlatives.
That performance by Karsten Warholm is possibly the best I've ever seen.
I can't believe the time. A lot of time I've been asked about the perfect race. I said it didn't exist, but this is the closest thing I've ever come.
A time and a talent to go down in Olympic history. Andy Swiss, BBC News.
Well, I've been getting reaction to Team GB's performance in the cycling from the former Olympic champion Sir Chris Hoy, and I asked him whether there was a little disappointment that it was silver, not gold, for the team today.
I think there's mixed emotions today. The men's team sprint, I think, will be delighted with the silver medal. The Dutch team was the hot favourites for that event. But for the women's team pursuit, Laura Kenny, Katie Archibald and their teammates, they were hoping for the gold medal. They were the hot favourites. But the German team broke the world record and were just in a different class today.
And Jason Kenny equals the total medal haul of Sir Bradley Wiggins to become Britain's most decorated Olympian. How impressive is that?
It's hugely impressive, and I think that Jason doesn't get enough credit. I think he has shown longevity, he's shown the ability to cope with pressure, and I think he's just a very understated guy who doesn't seek any limelight, but we should definitely be giving him more plaudits for all the amazing achievements he's had through his career. And there's still hopefully more to come in the keirin and possibly even the sprint.
And if he gets one more gold, he surpasses your total haul of gold medals.
Yeah, I mean, he's really surpassed me already with the extra silver medal, so I'll give him that one. But yeah, you know what, it's just amazing to have seen his career. He came on the team shortly before the 2008 Beijing Olympics as this fresh-faced youngster who took the responsibility and the pressure on his shoulders so well. And he's gone from strength to strength since then. And I'm proud to be a friend of his and to have watched him. So to have one of your mates take your record, it's not as bad as that. You know, it could be somebody else. So I'm really pleased for him.
And is British cycling, do you think, as good as it ever was, or are other nations catching up?
Well, I actually think British cycling is probably better than it ever was in terms of the performances are getting better. They are setting personal best. They are, you know, going faster than they've ever gone before. It's just that other countries are catching up and raising the bar, and in some events going quicker. So, you know, you look at the women's team pursuit. That was one of our banker events, one of the events we expected to win gold in, and it was a surprise that Germany have brought that incredible performance to these games. But other events like the men's team pursuit, the men's team sprint, the Danish team, the Dutch team, they have gone to a new level. So it's up to Britain to respond. But on the whole, if you look at the way that they've kind of invested in other parts of the sport too, we've got a gold medal in the mountain biking, 2 golds in BMX. British cycling is still doing really well, and there are more medals to come, I'm sure. But it's perhaps not the dominance that we've seen in the last 3 or 4 Olympic Games.
Chris, so good to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
So Chris Hoy there. Well, let's cross to Tokyo now and join our sports correspondent Natalie Perks, who's there. What can we expect on the track later, Natalie? A lot of interest for Team GB in the women's 800 metres.
Yep, that's coming up, that final in around an hour's time. It's the first time in 41 years that Britain has had 3 female athletes in an athletics final. Not since 2004 with Dame Kelly Holmes has Britain had a medal in this race. There are high hopes here. The reigning Olympic champion, Caster Semenya, isn't here because of her well-publicised legal row with World Athletics over testosterone levels. So the 3 that Team GB has high hopes for tonight are Gemma Reekie, the 3rd fastest British woman over this distance of all time. Alex Bell, she qualified quickest of the 3 Brits in the final. And 19-year-old Keely Hodgkinson, who could spring a surprise, the European indoor champion here tonight. It's also the women's 200-metre final. We should see some lightning quick times again because we have, of course, seen Olympic and world records. I'm just keeping an eye out, actually, because Karsten Warholm has just got his gold after that 400-metre hurdles. That lightning quick world record that we saw that lit up this stadium. And that is because World Athletics tonight has confirmed that this track is the fastest they've ever made. The designer believes it can add a 1 to 2% advantage to performances, and that's why we're seeing so many quick races. It's like bouncing on a trampoline when they're running. So if I do manage to catch him during our time, I'll grab him for a quick chat.
All right, you keep your eye out, Natalie. Meanwhile, let's just talk about Team GB. Another couple of golds in the sailing, climbing up the medals table. How do you assess Team GB's performance in this Olympics compared to previous Olympics?
Well, as you say, climbing up the medal table, currently in 5th with 13 golds, 16 silvers and 13 bronze. That takes them up to 42 so far. Remember, their minimum medal target for these games was 45, so they're well on track to beat that. There have been, I'd say, some notable disappointments. If you look at rowing, for example, just the 2 medals there, no golds there, worst performances at an Olympics for 49 years. Actually, in athletics, it hasn't been going that well as well. Dina Asher-Smith, of course, a notable absentee from the 200 metres tonight, the world champion, because of that hamstring injury she's been struggling with. But there have been some absolutely magical moments in the swimming pool, their best Olympics in history. In the BMX, 4 first-time Olympians, 4 events, 4 medals, 2 of them golds. And Britain's riders have been doing great things as well already over at the Equestrian Centre. There's still time for Team GB to pick up plenty more medals with more track cycling to come. Team GB is guaranteed medals in the boxing, for example. It will be, though, nigh on impossible to match the 67 medals from Rio. 27 of those were gold, so I think that's not going to happen. But it was 51 medals in Beijing, So they could be on track for that. And given what's happened and what we've all been through in the last 18 months, that's had a huge impact on athletes. A lot of their competitions were cancelled. They haven't been able to sort of test themselves against the rest of the world to know where they were at. So given what's happening, I think Team GB is in a very good place right now and should be incredibly happy.
All right, Natalie, thank you so much. Natalie Perks there for us in Tokyo. And the time is 15:15 midday. Our top story this lunchtime. More medals for Team GB, as you've just been hearing, as they sail to victory with Dylan Fletcher and Stuart Bithell in the men's 49er and Giles Scott in the Finn class. And cyclist Jason Kenny becomes Britain's most decorated Olympian of all time with silver in the sprint.
Coming up on the BBC News Channel, a bronze in the diving for Team GB's Jack Law. The Yorkshireman took third place behind a China 1-2 in the 3-metre springboard final.
Labour says the government's policy on international travel is now in total chaos after proposals for a new amber watch list were abandoned. The list would have allowed holidaymakers to see which countries were in danger of being put onto the government's red list, which would have meant having to quarantine in a hotel on their return. Travel firms oppose the idea, but the government has denied it's made a U-turn. Tony Bonsignori reports.
Holidaymakers want to go. The travel industry wants to take them. The problem, though, is there are concerns over COVID cases in countries like Spain and Greece. The idea of an amber watch list was to warn travellers about those countries currently on the amber list but that are in danger of turning red. And if that happens, it will mean a forced stay in a quarantine hotel at the traveller's own expense. It was an idea discussed by ministers, but that's now been ditched.
We've looked at all the various options. On balance, we think the system has to be simple enough. But, you know, it is difficult to tread that careful balance, and that's what we're trying to do. But we definitely want to open up travel.
Airlines are relieved.
I think it's a victory for common sense. I think the last thing we needed was another category into the traffic light system. I think what's really important now is, customers need as much clarity as possible. Those looking to get away need to understand that they're not going to be facing rules that are changing overnight.
Labour is calling for more transparency.
I'm afraid the current system just is not fit for purpose, and we've seen that in the way that Portugal was treated, in the way that France was treated, where they created an entirely new category for the amber list, and that just creates even more confusion and means that the travelling public don't have the confidence to book ahead. And so what we've been calling for is a simple system that says it's either safe to go, which means it should be on the green list, or it's not safe to go, which means it ought to be on the red list.
This latest row comes amid an intense debate within government over international travel. Whilst many remain cautious, others are letting it be known that they want to open up more quickly to protect jobs. It's a difficult balance for the government to strike. The next big announcement will come in the next few days when we get the latest update to the travel list. It's a decision which many holidaymakers will be following closely. Tony Bonsignori, BBC News.
Boris Johnson is meeting the opposition leader of Belarus, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, in Downing Street today to discuss human rights. Their talks come a day after one of the country's Olympic athletes sought sanctuary in Tokyo after defying orders to fly home early because she feared for her safety. Well, the opposition in Belarus has faced a brutal crackdown ever since President Lukashenko's disputed re-election a year ago. Richard Galpin reports.
In the midst of the Olympics, a different drama playing out. This athlete from Belarus, Kristina Timanovskaya, now in her second day taking sanctuary here in the Polish embassy. The International Olympic Committee said this morning she was in good spirits.
She reassured us once again she's feeling safe and secure. I believe there's a call going on this morning with her as well. And together with the relevant authorities and the competent organisations, she is planning her future.
Opposition activists in Belarus say no one who speaks out against the repressive Belarus government is safe, not even Olympic athletes. The Belarus president, Alexander Lukashenko, who's been in power for 27 years, has been ruthless in suppressing any dissent in the country. Those who try to protest face beatings and arrest by the authorities. It's led to many leaving the country. Today, the Belarus opposition leader Svetlana Tsikhanovskaya has been holding talks with the Prime Minister here in Downing Street. The Prime Minister saying he remained committed to supporting civil society and democracy in Belarus. In another development today, a Belarus activist, Vitaly Shishov, has been found dead in the Ukrainian capital, Kiev. He'd been hanged here in this park. It's reported Belarus special forces were in the area. Richard Galpin, BBC News.
In Afghanistan, government forces are battling to stop the Taliban from taking control of Lashkar, the capital of Helmand province, where British troops were stationed for many years. The militants are reported to have captured most of the city, while the Taliban's assault in Helmand is part of a major offensive across the country following the departure of American troops. Our chief international correspondent, Lise Doucette, is in the capital, Kabul. And so, Lise, fierce fighting in Helmand, where so many British troops lost their lives in the fight against the Taliban.
Yes, these are not images that would be easy to see for British soldiers on the same streets where they patrolled for years in their berets. They're now overrun by Taliban fighters. Some of the major squares in the city, the Taliban have been filming themselves there. The latest images to emerge from this besieged capital of Helmand province is of the police headquarters coming under assault. Also, the Taliban are trying to attack the prison to free some of the inmates there. The Afghan special forces, who've been helicoptered in to reinforce the forces on the ground, are also being backed up by Afghan warplanes in the skies, which have been also bombing targets in the city, trying to push the Taliban back. And the US as well, in the last weeks of the US-led NATO military mission in Afghanistan, the nearly 20-year-long mission, the United States is also using its air power to try to support Afghan forces. This is a really, really tough fight. As you mentioned, most of Helmand province, indeed many of the districts across rural Afghanistan, are now in Taliban hands. Most of the city of Helmand, city of Lashkar rather, the capital, are in Taliban hands. They are desperate to seize a provincial capital, which will give them not just territory, but another psychological boost. But the word from the Afghan forces is the war, it's not over yet.
All right, Lise, thank you so much. Lise Doucette reporting there from Kabul. Boris Johnson has said levelling up the poorest parts of the UK should start with tackling crime. One of the areas worst affected is Rhyl in North Wales, where serious violence rose for 4 years until the first coronavirus lockdown. Well, the town has some of the most deprived neighbourhoods in Wales and is hoping to win new government funding. Our social affairs correspondent, Michael Buchanan, has been to visit.
Weekend patrol in the most violent neighbourhood in Wales.
He said he was going to pinch me. I did not step forward.
Right, look, we're not getting anywhere now.
As COVID restrictions ease, there's fear here as elsewhere that serious crime will increase. Cutting crime is the centrepiece of the government's efforts to reduce regional inequalities, but doing so here in Rhyl is not straightforward.
Tackling crime doesn't just mean flooding the area with extra police officers. For me, it would be using that levelling up money to tackle the underlying causes of crime. Rhyl, and certainly the town centre and the west part of Rhyl, does have long-standing issues with unemployment. For me, those issues of social deprivation are inextricably linked to the violent crime issues that we have.
Violent crime for a long time in Rhyl was linked to the nighttime economy. Assaults and beatings and stabbings, a consequence of drinking too much, often at the weekend. But in recent years, the nature of violence here has changed dramatically. Natasha Harper has intimate knowledge of crime locally. Not only does she hear about it through her charity work, she was a victim of domestic abuse herself.
There was beatings, theft of jewellery to sell for drink, lots of emotional abuse, broken bones, cuts. He was standing over me with a chair, and I knew that if I couldn't get away, he would have killed me.
Natasha's charity delivers furniture to those in need. This time, another woman fleeing domestic abuse, which is a major driver of crime in Rhyl. Violence, however, is also being imported to the town. This car chase ended with the murder of a local man as gangs from nearby cities fought for control of Rhyl's drug trade.
Crime just gives the place a bad name and a reputational issue, isn't it, for us all. And that's probably been one of the key barriers we've had to overdress in terms of getting the private sector and getting confidence in the town of Rhyl.
Millions of pounds have been spent in recent years reviving Rhyl's tourist facilities. The challenge now is to make the town an attractive place to live and work, not just visit. Michael Buchanan, BBC News, Rhyl.
The Chinese authorities are carrying out COVID tests on 11 million people in Wuhan, the Chinese city where coronavirus first emerged in 2019. 7 cases of the Delta variant have been discovered there. Well, our correspondent in Beijing is Stephen McDonnell. And Stephen, the authorities clearly really worried because this is a massive testing programme.
Yeah, well, imagine being a resident of Wuhan. This is the city which had the world's first coronavirus lockdown, a very tough lockdown, which enabled them to get rid of the virus. Now, thanks to the Delta variant, the virus has come back. Residents there are being told not to panic, but they're also being told not to leave the province and that everybody in that city, 11 million people, will be tested for the virus. Now, this is not the first city with mass testing in this most recent outbreak. In another province, in Jiangsu, the residents of Nanjing, they've had 3 rounds of testing already. That's where the outbreak started. All of this is not because the authorities are so worried about the raw numbers, which aren't that big. I mean, not even 100 new cases today. It's the spread of the cases that has them worried. Dozens of places across the country all have infections. And so China, with its elimination strategy, has brought in tough transport restrictions in some communities, lockdowns, lots of track and trace with a view to bringing the country back to 0 cases by next February in time for the Winter Olympics. Now, of course, the big question is, can the Chinese authorities deal with a Delta virus outbreak in the same way they've been able to deal with these other outbreaks?
Stephen, thank you. Stephen McDonnell there in Beijing. The giant container ship that blocked the Suez Canal earlier this year will shortly arrive at Felixstowe. The Ever Given got stuck for a week in March, leaving hundreds of ships queuing behind it and causing huge delays to the delivery of goods. Well, let's speak to our correspondent Theo Leggett. Theo, it's been quite a journey.
It has. This is the end of a very long journey, Ben. As you say, the Ever Given started out from ports in East Asia months ago. Then it reached the Suez Canal in March. It was knocked off course, ran aground and blocked one of the world's busiest shipping lanes for the best part of a week, for 6 days, and stranded hundreds of vessels outside the entrances to the canal. That had incredible knock-on effects for the shipping industry, which we rely on for 90% of our goods. Well, now the ship has been released from being impounded in the Suez Canal while the Egyptian authorities tried to get compensation. It sailed back to Europe. It offloaded a number of its containers at Rotterdam last week, and in a couple of hours' time we should see it sailing in past its sister ship over there, the Ever Gentle, and it'll moor up in one of the berths behind me. Now, as I say, the stranding of the Ever Given happened at the worst possible time for the shipping industry, which was already suffering from COVID. It led to all sorts of knock-on delays for other vessels, congestion in ports, and that's just part of the bigger picture of what we're seeing in the shipping industry in general now, where shipping rates have gone up. So importers bringing goods into this country can now expect to pay some £15,000 for a container, where this time last year they'd have been paying £2,500. And at the moment, importers are getting in goods for the Christmas period. They're struggling to find out whether they should wait and see if rates fall, or order the goods now and take the losses. And if they do order the goods now, those price increases are going to come to us, the consumer. So although this one story is coming to an end, the Ever Given will get rid of her remaining containers here and then head off for repairs. The knock-on effects of what's been going on in the shipping industry as a whole, of which the Ever Given was part of, that's still very much with us.
All right, Theo, thank you. And it's weather time now. Let's get a look at the latest forecast for you from Nick Miller.
Hi Ben, another hint of autumn in the air this morning, down to 2 degrees in North Yorkshire and Cumbria, some mist and fog patches around, but it's turning into a very lovely afternoon out there. Some doing weather, pleasantly warm sunny spells, still a few downpours to dodge though. This is the latest rainfall picture. There have been a few showers around already today. There will be a few more getting going this afternoon, but most places are going to stay dry. So a few showers getting going through central, eastern and southern parts of England. 1 or 2 rumbles of thunder are possible. Not many showers for Wales and northern England, a few popping up in Northern Ireland. They're overall brighter than yesterday, and a scattering of showers that could be heavy affecting northern and western parts of Scotland. In some sunshine, a little bit warmer than yesterday. After that cool start in northern England, we top out at around 22 degrees. Now, these heavy showers, where they've developed, will continue into the evening before slowly fading. Overnight, some outbreaks of rain. Northwest Scotland, been very dry here so far this summer, so some of that rain may be welcome. And temperatures will be a little lower than this in rural spots, again just dipping down into single figures. A few mist and fog patches clearing in the morning. A fine start for most. Again, it's a case of waiting for the showers to develop. Most will avoid them and stay dry with pleasant sunny spells, but there'll be a few in Northern Ireland tomorrow, northern and western Scotland, a few more in northern England tomorrow, and a few dotted about elsewhere in England and Wales. In the sunshine, again, temperatures just into the low 20s. Thursday, Friday into the weekend, our weather is all about this low pressure system. The winds will pick up, though not as windy as it was last week, and we'll see bands of rain or showers moving in. That's what's going to happen on Thursday. We'll move from southwest to northeast. The chance for heavy downpours. Not raining all the time. There'll still be some bright or sunny spells around, but it'll be a breezier picture right across the UK, and it'll turn a bit cooler as well. Now for Friday, further heavy showers, a selection of places here, though I think many forecasts will look the same. There could be some disruptive downpours around that are thundery on Friday, and showers continue into the weekend, though they'll slowly fade, I think, Sunday into Monday. And temperatures at or below average for the time of year, and that fits in with the picture across much of the north and west of Europe at the moment. These are departure from average temperatures, white, blue, at or below average. But look at the reds across the southeast of Europe, a dangerous heat wave continuing here. Wildfires too, 46 in Greece yesterday. That's not far from the Greek and indeed Europe temperature record of 48 degrees, though these really high temperatures will gradually subside as we go through the rest of the week. We do have a video about that at our website you can watch, and also you can look at our weather for the week ahead for here in the UK if you really want to see that. Ben.
Nick, many thanks indeed. And a reminder of our top story this afternoon.
They carry it all the way to the finish, and right on the line, Great Britain win the medal race, and with it, the gold medal in Tokyo 2020.
Team GB sail to victory with Dylan Fletcher and Stuart Bithell in the men's 49er and Giles Scott in the Finn class. And cyclist Jason Kenny becomes Britain's joint most decorated Olympian of all time with silver in the sprint. And that's all from us, so it's goodbye from me. And on BBC One Now, we'll join the BBC's news teams where you are. Have a very good afternoon.